Have you ever wondered if these are worth it, or have you ever wondered whether or not you should be using the hemp fiber or paper towel or soil for your microgreen growing? It's like, literally, what is the best option? Well, we are about to try out the 3 options, and I'm gonna let you know which one I like the best. Let me show you how I'm gonna set this up. So the hemp I'm using is called Terra Fiber. This is from West Coast Seed. Now, they sent this over because I am a brand ambassador, and that is their program for this winter is Microgreens, which, by the way, I love sprouts. That is my jam. Sprouts are my jam. Microgreens, I'm not too sure if I like the idea of microgreens, but we're gonna give it a shot and see. I've always thought that this is potentially a waste of money. I don't know. I'm not convinced it is worth this. In my mind, paper towel and potting soil is just as easy, if not easier, but we're gonna try and I'll give you my honest review. For potting soil, you definitely hands down want to go with something that is a seed starting mix with less perlite than you normally would want to go with. For me personally, I'm using a seed starting mix without the perlite because it's just going to be the most accurate for this test. And then I am going to use paper towel. Now, the problem with paper towel is that there are some chemicals in paper towel. So if you are shy about utilizing paper towel that is like Bounty or something of that nature, it's gonna be between the potting soil and the hemp fiber. I would normally put in like a fertilizer portion of this, like a vermicast or a compost to help with this. But in the case of microgreens, we actually aren't relying on nutrients at all. We're relying completely on the seeds themselves to do the work for us. In this experiment, I am just going to use kale because it is quick at germinating and it is probably one of the easiest microgreens to grow, but you could go with a ton of different options. There's arugula, peas, there is radishes if you like something with a little bit of spice. There's also broccoli, one of my favorites. If you guys have been on this channel, you already know broccoli is one of my favorites for sprouts in particular, but yeah, that's what I'm gonna give a shot is kale. So when doing the hemp fiber pads, it's actually pretty simple. They are a little messy, I will note that, but no messier than what soil is. And so I'm going to do 2 pads of the hemp fiber. These are not reusable. There's a 40 per pack, and the pack runs you this much money. Again, I don't know if something that's not reusable is worth this. There is a 20% off code down below if you want to check it out. So when it comes to doing this, we are going to just simply toss it in. And the key here is to really push it down, and we really don't want a thick layer. So this actually may end up being too much. We want it the same height as this, like literally centimeters thick, and just really make sure there's no clumps. Unclump it. That's an important part of potting soil. So now I'm going to push down and really, really flatten this out. And then when I water this and add water to it, I'm going to add water to this side and we're just gonna let it kind of leach over. Once I've got water, I'm gonna repad it because moist potting soil compacts much easier than dry stuff. So that is a key there. And then for paper towel, all I'm gonna do is a single sheet of paper towel. That is it, that is all. No more, no less, and we'll pop that in. I'm gonna put it on this side and then we'll let it do its work by moving over into the potting soil. Okay, so the hemp pads, they're not floating. They're not floating. Not floating, but they do take a lot of water. I'm impressed by that water holding capacity. Also interested to see if they kind of poof up at all. Is it holding water or is it just discoloring maybe? Okay, we'll let this sit for a bit. And I'm looking for this to be fully saturated. So you can kind of see the dry spots. I wanna wait till this is fully saturated. Okay, this looks good now. And I'm going to add my microgreen seeds. So this is slightly wet on the paper towel side, but this is not fully saturated. So I'm expecting it to eventually move its way over. And if you did not know how to do this, it is laid on thick, ladies and gentlemen. You do not hesitate at all. Really heavy coating. You could go sparse if you wanted to, but you really don't with microgreens because it's not like sprouts in the sense that you have to harvest all of it right away and use it right away because it's going to go bad. Microgreens tend to last a little bit longer and you can let them grow and get a little bit bigger. I will say this did hold it more even. So it's a little bit more evenly dispersed once the seed was caught. It's caught. This is very similar texture to that. This one is kind of getting directed by the grooves in the tray itself. And this tray it's a nice thick tray. West Coast has nice thick trays. So next up is the humidity dome. The humidity dome for microgreens, you'll notice there's no ventilation, nothing. This goes under the grow light, and the grow light's gonna go right up against this. Hello, welcome to the future. We're about 8 days later, and there are some differences between the three mediums. Now, what I will say is I could have started harvesting or utilizing these sooner. Keep in mind, it's gonna run out of nutrients eventually because your medium isn't as substantial as it would be if it was planted. Okay, so major differences I noticed. First off, this soil one tends to be, it seems like it's a little bit longer, almost like it was starved for light, which it probably wasn't starved for light. I know it wasn't starved for light. However, I think it's because my seed starting mix, I do have a little bit of vermicast in it. And so I think the excess nitrogen is actually what caused almost like a bolting effect in this case. So if you were to use a seed starting mix that was pure coconut coir, pure peat, you may not see the same legginess I saw with the soil. However, the one thing I did think was going to happen with the soil that ultimately didn't happen with the soil was I assumed that soil particulate was going to travel with the cotyledons up to the canopy, meaning you'd have some soil mixed in with your microgreens that you would need to wash off. That is not the case. I think it's because we soil planted or surface planted those seeds, and so there was no soil to really get caught up in the mechanics of the plant. So that actually is not the case. One thing with both the paper towel and the coconut fiber was I did see some white mold, actually quite a bit of white mold on the paper towel compared to that of the coconut fiber, and next to none in the potting soil. Now, the potting soil not having it makes sense because it is peat based, and peat is relatively acidic, which tends to counteract a lot of that. So that one, okay, fine. The paper towel one I was a little bit shocked by, but ultimately it looks more like mycelium, which makes me lean towards if we just cut at the canopy level where we're not going to get that white fuzz in there, it's safe to eat. But do keep that in mind. If you're sensitive to mold, maybe not go with the paper towel method, go for more of a potting soil method in this case. So definitely something to look at. Now, where the coconut coir and the paper towel kind of did some wonky stuff was delayed germination. So the potting soil germinated really evenly. Everything kind of popped up at the same time. The other two, it seemed like there was a sudden germination for some, and then there was a half week, 5 days-ish, where it took some time to get germinating. So it's not an even canopy, and it is sporadic in its growth. So that may make harvesting difficult, particularly if you wanted to harvest it all at the same time. But I hope this helped you guys choose what medium you want to use for growing your plants in, your microgreens in. Let me know in the comments down below if you grow microgreens or sprouts. And if you do the microgreen route, what medium are you using? I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.